Sober Truth, Episode 5. Welcome.
Hello, and welcome again to The Sober Truth. I'm JT Hawker, and I'm your host. I am very, very happy to have this episode. It is with a very special guest speaker. Her name is Sharilin. She has been through a lot. Her story is very compelling, very courageous, very dramatic. All the things that, most of us have in our stories. But I would say with Sharilin even more so, the fact that she has been able to overcome what she's overcome and to be clean and sober and thriving and celebrating over 2 years of recovery, despite everything that she had to endure to get here, which is a lot. This story is something I don't know. I just can't wait for you to hear it. I recorded it yesterday with her and did some editing, so I've got it prepared for you today. This story is, I don't know what else to say other than inspirational, and I hope that you stick around to listen to it and listen to it in its entirety. You don't need to do it all at once. I was going to break this up into 2 different episodes because it is a little bit long, but you know what? I decided no way. People are going to start listening to this and they're just going to want to listen to it all the way through because it's just kind of one of those stories that you don't want to miss, and you'll see what I'm talking about when you hear it today. So without further ado, I am going to get that going for you right now. Okay, thank you, everybody. I have a very, very special guest with me today. Her name is Sharilin. Just a little background on how I know Sharilin. She was actually a nurse in a rehab facility that I was in a while back, and I hadn't seen her for quite some time. And then when I got back from California after this last rehab visit in Dallas, I ran into her at a meeting, and I didn't recognize her, I have to admit, because probably the last time I saw her, I was probably not in the best state of mind. But it was really good reconnecting. Once I knew who she was, it was just instantly hugs, because she was literally the best rehab nurse in my experience anyway. And I am a pro at rehab, so I should know.
You're a connoisseur.
Yes, I am. I'm a connoisseur. She has got some time behind her belt, her AA belt, or her program belt, whatever you want to call it. So I'm really excited for her to share her story with us today. And honestly, I don't even really know her story, so it's going to be all new to me as well. So I'm excited to hear it. Excited that and completely grateful that she decided to do this when I asked her to. I'm just really grateful. So thank you, Sharilin, for being here.
Thank you, JT. Thank you for inviting me. I'm eternally grateful that I've met you and grateful that I can be a part of this. It's wonderful.
Well, thanks. So before you dive into your story, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? I know you're a mother, so just tell us a little bit more. Like, how long have you had your nursing degree, and just a little bit more about who you are.
So I am almost 45, and I am not shy about my age. I love my birthday, which is coming up.
Because you look so good at your age, that's why.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I try. I try. I really trying to hang on with both hands and both feet to whatever youth I can muster.
You and me both, sister.
um, but I have had my nursing degree for almost 11 years. It'll be 11 years in August. And I'm a mom, have many children, 9 children.
9.
Yes, but 7 are living.
Okay.
And I have 2 cats. And I like exotic pets, so I have some tarantulas and a scorpion.
Ah.
Yeah, they're wonderful. I used to be afraid of spiders, but then I decided to get over myself and just see what it was about, and it's not that bad.
Yeah, get over the fear. I like it.
Yeah, yeah. So then I live in Idaho. I love Idaho, and I grew up here. The skies are beautiful, and the people are friendly. And
Most of
that's
the
it.
time.
I don't know. That's about it. Yeah. I work in rehab. So not in drug and alcohol rehab anymore. I work in like broken bone rehab.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you
Yeah, but
clarified that.
yes. But my time working in drug and alcohol rehab was really good because when I first started in drug and alcohol rehab, I was only 6 months sober.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I thought if I don't work in this industry, I'm gonna go back out because I was really young and didn't have my wits about me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you real quick. So you know what? Actually, you'll probably tell us during your story. I was gonna just kind of ask you if there was any of that, like if your nursing degree, if the access to medication and stuff was something that maybe like a Nurse Jackie type of thing that got you into drugs.
No, actually, that wasn't my drug of choice. I wasn't much into narcotics or anything like that. I was mostly alcohol for a long, long time.
Okay.
And then I had a doctor prescribe me some diet pills because I was overweight, and I thought, I can't go get the surgery. It was a long story, but anyway, he prescribed me some Phentermine, and off I went, abusing the heck out of it. And then I could drink way more.
Okay.
So I was trying to kill myself.
So right. So it started out with the alcohol. So go ahead, I guess, and start at the beginning, wherever you want to start in your life, and tell us your story.
Okay. Well, I was born on a Tuesday. Anyway, I was the youngest child of 6 siblings, and my upbringing, I was raised by people who were hippies, and then slammed into the 70s and the disco era, and so drugs and alcohol were cool,
right?
And so all over our house, there were paraphernalia and pot and alcohol, and I was hyperactive. I was a hyperactive kid. I was all over the place.
Okay.
And
me too.
Yes, all over the place, and it would drive my parents crazy. So they started with just giving me some alcohol at night to make me go to bed, which is not advised.
No, please don't do that. Yeah.
Yes, please don't do that. And so I was smoking pot with everybody at 6 years old. Started at 4 years old.
Oh wow.
6 years old, and so all of that, it was just part of the gang. In fact, my 3rd grade pictures, I have a roach clip in my hair with the feathers.
Sorry to laugh.
And yeah, right. And accessories. I just thought they were so beautiful, and I couldn't figure out. With my brothers always going to jail and my sister running away and all these things that were happening around our house, why on earth the other kids weren't allowed to play with me?
Yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, and my brothers were in and out of jail, life of crime. And so, they would use me to break into people's houses and stuff like that because I was little, and push me through windows and stuff.
So you didn't know any different. Yeah, I was going to say, you didn't know any different.
I didn't know any different. I thought all that was normal.
Right.
And so anyway, we're, going along our merry criminal ways. And in come Nancy Reagan and Ronald Reagan with Just Say No. Nancy Reagan's
Gag.
and I'm going around to all these school functions, having to sing in these mandatory, groups, and
Yep.
I had a Just Say No T-shirt on and
Yep. I
singing
remember
these songs, and
those.
I thought, oh God. And my parents were quick to say, don't tell anybody we smoke pot, don't tell anybody.
Oh
But
boy.
anyway, so going through life, we didn't go to church. Nobody was active in the church, and there was a lot of trauma in my childhood that I won't go into too much specific on, but
Yeah, and you don't
a
have
lot
to.
a lot of really intense stuff that kids, these days, are on the news for.
Right.
But back then, it was just like the 80s. And,
Right. Lucky we
right?
lived.
Then it was just the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Drinking
Yep.
out of hoses, breaking in places, smelling gas, whatever.
Yep.
And so anyway, as I got older, I was, trying to have friends. And I started being like a wallflower in people's homes and just observing
Oh, okay.
and really wanting a change, something different. I'd see these, loving couples. My parents always fought and broke up and all this stuff, and see these amazing situations, parents actually helping their kids with their homework and all this stuff. And,
You're like,
I hated
whoa.
school. Yeah, I hated school. I was always trying to, I was always out on the yard fighting with people and whatnot. So I got to the age where I could kind of make more decisions safely for myself. And I didn't know that's what it was, but, I didn't have any supervision. And so, I just spent more time with other people. And I started to adopt all of these different philosophies from watching other families.
Makes sense.
And it was really wild. I mean, I think I've joined every religion there is and, done everything. And
right, but with now having, you had no base though. You had no like baseline to go from. So I could see why you did that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember being at a church once when I was like maybe 13, 14 years old, and they were speaking in tongues. And no offense to anybody who does that. That's cool. It's way cool.
Right.
But for me, it was like, my friend looked at me and she was like, just, don't hate me or something like that. Because we went into a church, we're all dressed up and everybody's super sweet. And then they start speaking in tongues. And I was like, wow. I mean, just people and their spirituality just blew me away. And, just really wanting to explore that. But I didn't think that, I felt more like a wallflower. I didn't think that, I've always felt like I was a mistake. Like I didn't belong anywhere. Nobody really wanted me around for that long.
Right.
Especially once they met my family.
Right.
And
they didn't want their kids hanging out with you after that.
Yes, yeah. Yes. And I'm desperately wanted to, well, me too. I desperately wanted to be loved. And I couldn't figure out why I wasn't being loved and what was wrong with me. And, my parents and my siblings were really self-centered and consumed with their problems. And I took that on myself and I took on everybody else's rejection, and I began that self-loathing that we are all troubled with and just intensely. And all of the misconceptions and falsehoods that we create in our minds, and all of the hurts and the woes of that. And so, drinking for me, because my family, they're always getting in trouble for it, I found ways to be sneaky about it and still try to be all these other people.
Right. And that becomes part of the addiction.
Yeah. Yes. So I would pretend to be all of these other people that were liked. I would study them. And, if this person was liked because of the way they looked, I would try really hard to look like that. If this person was liked because of the jokes they told, I'd learn some freaking jokes. And I was just
a chameleon
all over the board. Yes, all over the board. So by the time I was 15, my parents, I had a lot of depression, teenager hormones. And
Yeah.
my parents were, they were like, "You're on your own," because I was a mess.
Oh, my
I
word.
had to pay my own medical bills. I moved in with a friend of mine, a childhood friend of mine, and her husband, because she was emancipated, and
Oh,
they lived in a
wow.
studio apartment, and I was sleeping on their couch. So you can imagine a couple of 16-year-olds going at it, and you're laying on their couch, like, oh,
Yeah.
you moving.
Oh, no.
Anyway, yeah. So then I found another church I wanted to be a part of, and all these people were married and happy, and if I joined the church, it would happen for me too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did, and I went back home and asked my mom and dad if I could stay, just for a year, just so I could finish high school because I dropped out.
Right.
So I came back home, did all that, finished high school in this church. And then, all heck broke loose because my parents were like, "Well, if you're going to live here, you're going to pay rent."
Ugh.
And I'm like, "Okay, well, screw that because I'm rebellious." So I went and I got a recruiter for the military, and I was like, come home with me," because my parents are hippies.
Yeah,
And
right?
yeah, so I
Yeah.
was like, "Come on over." So he came over and he was like, "I want to sign your daughter up for the military." And my mom was like, "Cool, where do I sign?"
Oh,
I,
wow. Not what
I
you
was 17.
expected. Not what you
Yeah.
expected.
So I left. I went to the military. I went to the Army.
I
I was a
didn't
vet
know
tech.
that. Wow.
Yeah. I was a veterinary technician. You want to talk about sham job, vaccinating dogs and cats. And
Right.
so the first place I went, this was in the 90s, and the first place I went was Augsburg, Germany.
Okay.
And yeah, talk about alcoholic gone
Yeah.
crazy. Woo! Yeah. So I drank pretty much the whole time.
Okay.
And the first time somebody told me I was an alcoholic, I was drinking and trying to drink these Navy boys under the table at a bar. And I did 14 shots in an hour.
Oh, my word.
And yeah, and stopped breathing. And they had to take me to a
Scary.
German hospital and, basically save my life. And it was Mother's Day. And so I'm calling my mom from the hospital all hungover. Happy Mother's Day in the hospital. But anyway, the military was like, "Hey, you're an alcoholic, and
Right.
we're going to place you in something called track, which is, a recovery for military alcoholics."
Okay.
And I was, 18 years old, and my captain got me out of it.
Oh.
She was like, "That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And you just went too far, and you don't need to be in some dumb program." And she got me out of it. And I was like,
You were
"Cool,
like, yes. Yes.
this is the best.
Mm.
And so anyway, I went on for the next year, just, wrecking my life. And I got pregnant. I got pregnant with this guy I slept with. And I, and he was an alcoholic and a jerk and all this stuff. And so I married him. And that's what you
Why
do.
not?
Yeah, I married him, and I spent 18 years with this dude. Got
Oh,
out of the
wow.
military, spent 18 years with him, completely engrossed in the drama and the dysfunction of our marriage and my addiction to alcohol, and quit drinking during pregnancies. Obviously, I'm not a complete, I wasn't that
You were
destructive,
able to.
but
You were able to. Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
yes. But so
Because
I
I know
had.
some people aren't, but it sounds like you were able to do that. That's awesome.
Yes, and I had 4 kids, and so here I am, pregnant. I was pregnant consecutively every year for 5 years. So I was sober for 5 years, but not by choice.
Right.
And yeah, so I had 4 kids, and we were traveling around. I was a military wife, and he was still, engrossed in his flaws and his addiction, his problems, and I was really hyper focused on trying to get him to love me.
Okay.
There that goes again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it didn't matter how awful he was to me. I wanted him to love me.
Or how many kids
And
you had of his.
yes, and so I would give up everything, everything. And so at 7 years, I'd had enough. He was abusive. He's physically abusive. But um, his commander intervened because he was so abusive. and pulled him out to the field. And he said, "You have 3 weeks. I can keep him out here in the field for 3 weeks. I suggest you get out."
Wow.
So I grabbed my kids and the neighbor, because she was willing to help me, and we drove from Louisiana at that point all the way up to Idaho, and came home to my dysfunctional family.
Right.
And tried to make that work for a while, and it didn't work. Meanwhile, he got injured in the military, not because he deployed anywhere, but because he slept with somebody's wife, which he'd been doing for a while.
Sorry to laugh.
And the guy beat the crap out of him.
That's kind of what happens.
Busted his teeth out.
Oh no.
Broke his jaw, like beat him with a gun.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it was ugly. And his commander called me and was like, "He's getting out of the military right now. Can you come and get him?"
Okay.
Because they were done with him.
So they were like, "Okay, we know we helped you escape, but now you need to come pick him up because we're done.
Need to come get him.
We're done with him.
Because we're done with him. We're so done." And so I was like, okay. So I drove down there and picked him up and brought him back to Idaho. And I told him, I said, "I've had some time away from you. You've got to clean up your act. You're already in trouble, all this stuff, blah, blah, blah." So we get up to Idaho and get a place. And the kids are happy because they have their dad, because kids love their dad no matter what.
Right.
I swear.
Yeah.
And they do. They love him. But, he still was him. And me telling him, "Hey, you've got to change," is two things. One, it's not going to work.
Right.
And two, I was sick.
Yep.
I was still engrossed in my problems and my addictions and my flaws.
Right.
And thinking everybody else was messed up.
Yep. Been there.
Yes.
Yep.
So, it was oil and water, the whole time. And we did get divorced. It didn't take long. But then, I found somebody right away because I needed love.
Yeah.
Found somebody right away. Quickly moved in with them. The kids were going to be happy now. I was going to be happy now because I found love, and this is forever. Dude lived in a trailer.
Yeah.
I had 4 kids, and they're sleeping on the floor, and I'm like, "Oh, it's perfect." And I got pregnant.
Oh, big
I got pregnant.
Oh no.
And I'm like, "Oh, this is great." And then he didn't want anything to do with us.
Oh no.
So here I am with 4 kids, an ex-husband, who's moved on with his life with another girl, the same pattern. He went, "Well, I need love," and grabbed some other girl.
Yeah.
And so naturally, when he finds out that I'm no longer with this guy and he's got these flaws that this girl doesn't like, we're like, "Well, why don't we get back together?" So we got married again, and here I am pregnant. This other guy's dude. I've got 4 kids. I married my uncle, ex-husband, and I'm an asshole too.
Yes, but
Yeah.
you're still searching for that security.
Yes, absolutely. And we're still drinking, except for I was pregnant, so I couldn't drink. But anyway, I got pregnant over, I sneeze and get pregnant. But anyway, so we decided the best thing for us to do is to start over and move to Connecticut because for no reason. So we got in the van, put all the kids in the car. I'm pregnant with this other guy's baby. I'm married to my ex-husband again, and we're driving across country to start our new life in Connecticut.
Sounds very hectic.
Yes. So, and this is that rational thinking skill that we have as alcoholics.
Exactly.
So, so we get to Connecticut, and it's where the rich people live. Like some dude on ESPN lives there, all this stuff. And we were able to get a rental home off season for $1,600 a month. And David was working. And so I was like, well, this is great. Now we're rich. We're rich people. We're going to start over. Perfect family. Live in Connecticut, down the road from the ESPN guy. We're all going to be happy.
Right.
And that lasted about 8 months. And it was so expensive and so hard to live there. And my baby was born there. And then we took off to where David's from, which is Maryland.
Okay.
And let's go move again. That's a great idea. So we move down to Maryland. And then we move again to Virginia.
So you went to Maryland and then from there to...
And then Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, backstory, just a quick minute.
Sure.
At 6 years married to David, well, yeah, in that ballpark, 7 years married to David when we got divorced. I had been in a shelter because his drinking, he was really controlling, he was really nasty, he was really mean. And I was no spring chicken or princess or whatever we want to term that. So
Right.
anyway, we ended up, kids and I, in a domestic violence shelter, which I will say as a public service announcement, all domestic violence shelters should take romance books out of their freaking shelters.
Oh, yeah.
I think it is absolutely obnoxious to see a romance shelter or a romance book in a domestic violence shelter.
Yeah.
It is obnoxious. It's counterproductive.
Wrong ideas.
And they're riddled with them.
Oh no! I'll go take some books down there right away.
Yes, like if you're listening and you are in a domestic violence shelter, do yourself a favor and throw all of those away.
Yes,
just get them out because that comes from somebody's imagination, which is loving, great, whatever, or they think it's wonderful, and that's wonderful. But it has no business being in your mind when you're trying to escape someone.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yes. So anyway, back to the story. So we're in Connecticut, and then we moved to Maryland, and then we moved to Virginia. And in Virginia, and I had totally, again, dismantled every part of me that was left. Because, mind you, I had fragments of who I thought I was or could be or should be.
Right.
I dismantled all of that because it displeased my husband and it made my kids suffer. And my kids were finally in a place where his friends' children and my children were friends and everybody was doing good and we had all this stuff. But I was only allowed to wear his torn clothes, the clothes that he didn't want anymore.
Wow.
I was only allowed to wear his glasses that he had grown out of. I wasn't allowed to go get my own prescription. I was not allowed underwear. I had one bra that was from when my son was born back in 1998.
Oh, man.
And I had to wear his shoes, and his feet are considerably bigger than mine. So here I am walking around the other moms, and they have makeup. Their hair is done. They have an outfit that looks beautiful. Their husbands love them. And I am, wearing old tattered man clothes with super huge shoes and glasses that are taped in the middle that I can't even see through. And
complete humiliation.
Yeah, it was humiliation.
Yeah.
And I participated in that, but my mind was stuck.
Mm-hmm.
My mind was stuck in this thought process that was, all subservient. And if I was subservient, things would go well. And, then I would be happy and they would be happy and everything would be perfect. And then maybe one day my husband would fall in love with me.
Right. Eventually.
Meanwhile, we're drinking.
I was going to say, was the drinking still going at this point?
Oh, yeah. Meanwhile, we're drinking. Because, I go into depth with all these other things because these faulty thinking patterns are all a big part of the disease anyway.
Yes.
And, and then, you're drinking on top of it because that's how you cope. That's what you do. That's what everybody does. And you drink when you're happy and you drink when you're sad. You drink when there's a funeral or wedding or whatever. And when you drink until you're on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, kids, kids, this is just how adults are or whatever,
Yeah.
So anyway, shelter number 2 happened. And I was just destroyed. I had nothing. I had these kids that were starting to be really grossly, obviously affected. They were affected before, but now I was able to see it. And my son went to the public school system and told them, my mom's being hit. And I need you guys to help me because I don't want to watch it anymore.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
And so they called me into a meeting. They didn't call the police because, the place that we lived in was kind of upper scale. They didn't do that.
Didn't want to be embarrassed.
In different ways. And so they called me into this meeting. Here I am, with all these tattered clothes and crap. And I go in and sit in this meeting and they tell me what my son said. And they gave me this number to, the social workers. So I talked to social workers and they give me a number of domestic violence shelter. And the domestic violence shelter says, okay, we're going to get you to a certain point. On a certain point, you're going to have all this stuff prepared. You're going to meet us on this corner and this corner in the middle of the night. We'll see you soon.
Weird.
Kind of stuff. And so I did. I did everything they said. It took a while. I had everything in garbage bags shoved in the car and the kids. I went to the shelter. And, then, the court process again, which I had already been through court process with him before. And basically protection order doesn't do a whole lot. And I was terrified and living in, what I was told the area never to go into in Richmond, Virginia, which was the south side. The south side of Richmond, Virginia has a lot of really beautiful houses and stuff like that. But my ex-husband's racist. And he had said, you're not allowed to go on that side. It's a little too dark, which means there's black people. Yeah, which was sad. Freaking terrible.
Yeah.
And he would tell me stories, and I'd never really hung out with very many people, even in the military. So, and I listened to everything said.
Yeah.
So I go there to this shelter, and it's like 99% black women.
Okay.
And so, I go and I'm hanging out with them in this shelter, and they just threw their arms around me. And it was crazy because I had this stereotype like they were going to beat me up.
Right. Because you didn't know any different. Yeah.
But at the same time, it was really ignorant, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yes.
And I'm
yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And they're women. They were going through the same shit I was going through. So they threw their arms around me, and it was the first love that I'd felt besides the love of my children.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
It was amazing. And they looked out for me. And, I never thought that I would ever be loved, like that. And, it's funny. One of them, who's amazing, still my friend to this day, and she's just a rock solid lady. And she took me to a department store because she was like, "What are you wearing?"
She's like, "Nope, not working for you."
She's like, "We're gonna throw all this in the trash. You're not gonna wear this." So she took me to the department store, and she's like, "Hey, first we gotta shave your legs, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Stuff I hadn't been able to do. We gotta buy you underwear. We gotta get you some clothes." I'd never tried on a pair of high heels. And she was like, "Come here." Taught me how to size my feet for high heels so that I wouldn't have my feet hurt.
Wow.
She did all these amazing things, and she was like, "You're a woman. You're a woman. What are you doing? Like, you're a woman. Why would you wear these clothes? Why would you do this to you?
Yeah.
You get to be a woman, and you're not going to do that anymore." And that was one of my first introductions into the world of shopping that I love so much. But anyway, but even we drank. We would sneak alcohol into the shelter, and all of us drank.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Yeah, we'd sneak it in a suitcase, and and we'd hide up in the room because we had these bunk beds in these rooms. Everybody had their assigned areas. And we'd sneak into each other's rooms in the middle of the night and get sloshed and then go to bed. And it was good fun, but it didn't help us focus on the issues.
Right.
And I also decided at that point, because I used to go by a different name, I also decided at that point that I was going to start going by my birth name, which was Sharilin. That was my first name.
Okay.
I never went by it my whole life. And I said, if I want a different life, I have to do different things.
Yeah.
Of course, I still do. But I went to nursing school from that shelter.
Oh, no kidding.
And, yeah, got my associate's degree in night program in Richmond, Virginia.
Wow.
And I met really good people that helped me along the way, helped watch my kids. And the state of Virginia made my ex-husband, or my husband, because we were still married, pay for my school.
Good.
And give me money.
Yeah, good.
And so then he was working really hard to try and better himself because he did not want me to take from him.
Yeah, it was hitting the
state of
pocketbook.
the state of Virginia also made me take my children to him for 50-50 custody, even though I was in a domestic violence shelter.
Wow.
So it was kind of like a mix of really weird things.
Yeah.
And, you know, he would tell them horrible stories. I'm broke and penniless. You know, they're going to turn off the electricity because your mom's taking all my money. Yada, yada. Anyway, so fast forward a little bit. I graduate from school. I have my own apartment. I'm working for Health South, which is an amazing organization. It's now Encompass. I'm working on rehab as my first job. And still drinking. And my dad dies. And he's really sick first, you know, obviously, and he's an alcoholic. And so I fly home, and there's, you know, my dad in the ICU, and the whole family's there. And we would go down the parking lot and get drunk while he was upstairs dying from alcoholism, from his disease. So, and I'm a nurse at this point. So, you know, drunk nurse in the parking lot while my dad's dying of alcoholism. Super cool.
Yeah.
And, you know, really sad.
Yeah.
And my dad would look at us. We'd come up and each take a turn kissing him goodnight while he was in the ICU. And he would look at us and go, have you been drinking? You know, like, are you nuts? And, you know, we'd just be like, good night, you know. Anyway, so it was sad. When he died, it was really sad. And I still, you know, was under the distinct impression that he was a sad alcoholic.
Yeah.
And that the rest of us were okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I loved him dearly. But, you know, every time he would go to AA. And every time he'd go to AA, we'd be like, oh, Dad, don't do that to yourself. You're not an alcoholic. Here.
Yeah, you wanted him, you didn't want him to leave the fold.
Right?
Yeah.
And psychologically, I didn't even realize that until I started getting sober.
Yeah, of course not.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm fast forward to after he dies, I decided to come to Idaho again and be with my mom and take care of her, be near her. And I'm going to bring my kids. But this time, David's going to stay in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Well, David didn't want any of that. And it was a fight. And the only way I could leave with the girls is if I left my son.
Oh.
And I did.
Oh, okay.
I left my son with one of the most abusive men and took my girls and went to Virginia. And you want to talk about resentment for my kids towards me and towards their dad. It was, I mean, they had no choices.
Yeah.
None. And here I am just, you know, sure, I was going to start a new life. I was going to get my son again. But right now I was going to get us situated. I had a job already. You know, I had a place to rent. And we were good. We came all the way to Idaho with my girls. And they hated my guts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. They hated my guts. And I used to call it Jerry Springer on the front lawn because, you know, the way that they exhibited that was to fight with each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And each other's
yeah. Chairs flying.
Yeah. Yes. And just beat the shit out of each other. And so, you know, I'm trying to work. And I found out, guess what? It's expensive in Idaho. Who knew?
Yeah.
And, yeah. And so I had to work 2 jobs. And my family, you know, whatever magical thinking I had that my family was going to babysit my kids quickly left the minute I got here. They were like, good luck.
Yeah.
And so my kids had to fend for themselves. And I would hire nannies when they got really bad. And the nannies would quit.
Oh, wow.
They were tough.
Yeah.
They were tough.
They were hardcore.
Angry.
Hardcore.
They're hardcore.
Yeah.
And they watched it their whole lives between me and their dad.
Yeah. Didn't know any different. Just like you.
Yes.
Yep.
And they started to develop their own addictions.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I quickly thought, well, if I hurry up and get married, I can spend more time with them. And so one of my daughter's friends had lost her mother this is alcoholic thinking. Warning, warning. Had lost her mother. She died. And, everybody was real sad about it. I didn't know the lady. So I started zeroing in on the husband.
Oh, boy.
Oh, gosh, yeah. I was going to marry that man because he didn't have a choice.
Right.
I started hanging around him and being an ear and comforting him. And my kids were friends with their kids. And all of these things were happening. And he took me up on the offer and married me after a year after his wife died.
Right.
And then all of our kids hated us. And
mutual hating going around.
Yes. But that was okay with me because they would come around, right?
Yeah.
Because none of this was about them. If I got the picture right, everything would be fine and they'd see what I was doing.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So my new husband, I'm pregnant again. Surprise!
No way.
No way. Yeah, I got pregnant right away. And anyway, my new husband quits his job of 10 years and decides he needs to go back to school to be a marriage counselor.
Oh, big money in that, right?
He wanted to do that. Yeah, he quit his job, his union job of 10 years. He was making good money, and he decided he was going to be a marriage counselor. And I was pregnant, and all of a sudden the only breadwinner for 12 kids. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, okay, I can work 2 jobs. So I was working 2 full-time nursing jobs. I was going to school to get my bachelor's degree. I had a bun in the oven. My kids hated me. His kids hated me. I was never home.
A lot going on. My word. Wow.
Yeah, and I was a little bit crazy. And he was living his best life, sleeping with a neighbor. Because his plan was when he graduated, he was going to run away with her.
And be a marriage counselor.
Yes. And he was using me. So,
okay.
So after my baby was born, about a year after she was born, he was about to finish school. It was December. And it was 8 days before Christmas. And he was like, I love somebody else. You guys need to leave.
Oh, boy.
Yes. Not only that, he had stockpiled all of my checks because I let him run the finances because I run finances like a 13-year-old.
Well, you had a lot going on, too.
Yes. So he was paying all the bills. Well, he had thrown the bills in the trash for 6 months, had saved all the money in a separate account, and was like, see ya. And all the debts were in my name because he didn't have a job.
Right.
So I all of a sudden was $102,000 in debt.
Wow.
My ex-husband from Virginia had moved to Idaho in the meantime, married the woman he had been with before, and they got a house, and he had a stable job, and she had a stable job, and my kids went to live with them.
Ouch.
Yes. In the meantime, I'm still drinking, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how you deal with it. And it was really
hard. Of
course.
So
they had every right to drink, Yeah. And I had to go stay with my ex-husband and his wife, JT.
Oh.
And I did. I lived in their stinky basement for like 2 months.
Wow.
And,
wow.
It was insult to injury, and I'm $102,000 in debt, and all my stuff is in default, and everything's a mess. And my soon-to-be new ex-husband is living his best life with a neighbor in our home with my baby. Yeah.
Wow.
So I was really pissed. JT,
so, yeah, and then you're thinking, how the fuck did I get here?
How the fuck did I get here? Well, our best thinking is what gets us in those situations, right? Yeah, right? So look at what I did. I participated in that big time. I sought that out, and I got it because it was my thinking that got me there, right?
Yeah.
So, anyway, so I started, drinking even more. I would drink to black out consistently.
For sure, I would have done the same.
Yeah, I couldn't take care of my kids. I had other kids that I called my feral children. When I worked in the emergency room, I would take them home. They'd be laying on the lawn at 2 a.m. drinking hot cocoa because they didn't have anywhere to go that was safe.
Oh.
And so I started being a haven for these kids. Meanwhile, in the throes of my own addiction. And they called me mom, and they were
Mm.
friends with my kids and all of this stuff. So when I finally got a place of my own for a short time, I brought these kids with me.
Yeah.
And one of them, my sweet boy, he, and I don't want to say his name because I want to protect
Yeah, of
his true
course.
parents. But, I was going to adopt him. And, I'd already adopted one of them. And I had to wait till he became an adult to do it because his dad was dead and we couldn't find his mom.
Wow.
And we didn't want to do it through the foster system.
Right.
So, we just hung on to him and adopted him. So I had this place in Cuno for a few months, and I'm living there, renting this house from a friend. And, working 3 jobs, drinking, being, a jerk. And these kids are running amok, because here I am being their haven, and I'm not there.
Right.
And they're running amok doing drugs and different stuff, and busting up the house I'm renting. And I was, working myself to death, and my brain was all messed up, and I was bitter and angry and all these other things. And my sweet boy, who had been my son for about 3 years, and his parents never looked for him ever.
Mm.
But his dad was a drug dealer, and my son had overdosed in their backyard. That's how I met him. And so he came to stay with me, and when he was an adult, I was going to adopt him.
Right.
But he also was getting in trouble a lot, and had to go to military school for a little bit, the reform school for
Yeah.
wayward kids here.
Yeah.
And which is, a decent program. Met some friends there and stuff like that. And then, but he kept getting in trouble, and he was gonna have to go spend some time in jail. And he didn't want to have to do that. And I was telling him, it's gonna be okay. When you get out, you'll still be here, but you need to go do that. And he was self-sabotaging.
Mm.
And I, had my nifty parenting tricks that I would pull out of my hat, which were remnants of my childhood because I didn't know what the hell to do.
Yeah.
And so, I told him one day he was dinking around, he kissed my daughter, and I said, if you're going to act like that, you can't stay here.
Mm.
And he was like, deuce, deuces, peace, whatever, I'm out.
Mm.
And, we got in this fight, and he left. And that was in July. And he had a hard life. Like, his dad had beat the shit out of him once and almost killed him.
Yeah.
And, and his dad's a drug dealer. So, you don't want to rock that boat too much.
No way.
But he was trying to have a better life. And when I did that, and, I realized we all make our own choices. But he went out and, couch hopped for a while, lived on the streets for a while. And then one night he went home at the end of September to his parents' house, and he stole $600 and a bunch of drugs from his dad and took off. And so his dad was pissed.
I imagine.
And he was calling everybody. He was trying to find him. That's the first time I ever heard about his dad. First time I ever saw his dad was when he stole his shit.
Right.
I said his name. Anyway, so he stole his stuff, went out to this party, and was never seen again. And so we thought, well, he must have hopped a bus somewhere. He's on the run. He doesn't want to go to jail. He's supposed to report to jail. He doesn't, all of these things. We're kind of and I secretly hope maybe he did run away.
Yeah.
Because if his dad catches him, he's going to be dead.
Yeah. The only time his dad cared to even search for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only time they cared about him. And, I'd stalk their Facebook pages and different things, and their parents never put anything up about him. And so I was like,
yeah.
Anyway, so he, I even thought he was living in my attic for a while because, he was a little guy. And maybe he's living up in my attic.
Right.
But anyway, it was October 1st he went missing, and they found his body under a bridge in February.
No.
Yeah, it had been there, they thought, probably the whole time.
Wow.
The kids at the party said that he walked out and was like, see you tomorrow. And that's the last time they saw him. So naturally, police were like, well, we found him in an irrigation ditch full of water, under a bridge, and in the cleaning thing. So he must have, the collection grate. So he must have just fallen in there intoxicated, and then nobody could find him, and then winter came and all that stuff.
Right.
And a city worker found him. But what we think is that he met a fate that he probably thought he was going to meet if he stole from somebody.
Right.
That's
tragic.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I lost it. And, I'd already been blackout drinking and now this. And so, I mean, how much more can you destroy yourself without actually, because I didn't even have the wits to put together suicide, let alone go through all that and listen to my words as I'm saying that. I have other kids.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But I'm not thinking about them. I'm a fuck up. I'm a failure. I'm terrible. I don't deserve to have anything. And my mind just kind of fragmented.
Okay.
And my ex-husband, I told you, came and got my kids, kept them.
Right.
The one that I had tried so hard to get them away from, I lost them. And I decided that I didn't even want a house anymore. I was working. It was the only functional part of me.
Right.
And I became homeless on purpose.
Yeah.
I became homeless on purpose, but I had a job. I was making 6 figures a year because all I did was work. Mm-hmm. And occasionally I would be couch hopping. Sometimes I slept in my car, but I just isolated.
Yeah.
The ultimate isolation. I didn't speak to my kids. I didn't do anything. They would reach out to me, and of course I talked to them back, but I didn't have them.
Yeah.
And they hated me again, all the time. But, that was my dysfunctional squirrel. And I started to just do horrible things. I became addicted to speed. I was drinking, working nights and during the day, just whatever, hardly sleeping at all. Sometimes I'd be up for days at a time. And, and then, trying to mimic all these different things, dating. Date, it's all right. I'm sleeping in my car.
Right.
But yeah, it's good. It's a good idea to date. And sure. So, because I have a job, people will want me.
Right.
And, it'll be fine. Everything will be fine. So I go and meet this guy once, and he was some millionaire, crazy guy that I met. Sorry if you're listening. Crazy guy. Who had won all his money in the lottery. So we're at this restaurant, and he's like, pretty proud of himself, sitting at the table. He orders us a few drinks. I've already preloaded before, I've been drinking since 9 a.m. So he orders us some drinks, and I'm like, pussy, because I was that way. I had that attitude. And I was like, bring more. And he didn't want to pay that much. And then he was a jerk. And so I was like, I'm out of here. And I went to a bar. And this bar had a live band. And I thought, I've been up for 72 hours. I should probably take a nap, but I'm not super tired yet.
Oh, boy.
So I'm going to go and go to this bar and listen to this live band. And I'd heard about it at work from some people I'd worked with. There was going to be this live band. So we went there, and there were a bunch of people from local hospitals. So I was like, yes, I came on a good night. And they all bought me drinks. So I would go systematically table to table as they bought me drinks. And they're all falling all over themselves. And I was like, cool, still drinking.
Right.
And so I went out to the floor where they had the band, and I'm dancing in front of the band. And of course, I'd been on speed. So, I probably looked really strung out, honestly.
Right.
But I thought I looked great because I was skinny. I was too skinny. And, and I'm drunk, and I'm thinking they're thinking I'm beautiful, really feeling good about myself. And, keep in mind all the other shit that's happened. And here I am at this, and so I'm just dancing, And I had been couch hopping. I was staying at a friend's house who's a nurse, and she told me I could stay there if I was getting sober, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, sure. Like I'd gone to AA. I keep rewinding. I'd gone to AA because one of the supervisors I'd worked with at another job was an alcoholic, and he and I started an affair. And you know, totally. I mean, and I was drinking him, like I was drinking his drinks and mine,
Right.
you know, and he was really, really sick. And he had told me, you know, he wanted his wife back, and she wouldn't have anything to do with him. So naturally, I was like, well, I'll fix you, and
Uh-huh.
I'll fix me, and Mertz is great, you know. And so anyway, he was going to kill himself. So they took him to the emergency room, and I stayed with him, and they sent him to the Walker Center. And I was like, well, I'll be the best girlfriend ever, better than that other girl who left him. I'm going to go to AA and see what it's all about. So that way I can be supportive when he comes back. So I go to AA, and it's my first time in the rooms. Going to AA, and I was probably like 5 minutes sober.
Right. Right.
I go in there, and I'm dressed like I'm, you know, trying to get laid. And it's like a noon meeting for as Bill sees it.
Right.
Like at the church.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I waltz in there, and, you know, boobs hanging out and all sorts of stuff. Smell like alcohol. What's up? I'm just here for my boyfriend, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And and they were like, well, you know, try 30 you know, meetings in 30 days. Do that. And I was like, easy. And they were like, and try not to drink during that time. It's like, okay, like I can take it or leave it.
Yeah.
And I lasted about 2 or 3 days before, because I honestly was going to just do it despite them.
Right.
And I lasted about 2 or 3 days, and then I had to drink.
Yeah.
And so I was going there drunk,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
go to the meeting drunk. And, you know, and so, and I would cry all the way home after the meeting, and I get so pissed off, but I was going to do this for my boyfriend. So.
Word. Okay, there we are. So,
Okay.
all right.
So he came back from the Walker Center, this guy, and he blocked me, right? Cut me out of his life because I'm toxic, right? Trying to save his own life. And I'm sure he got some clarity of some kind at rehab. And I was pissed.
Yeah.
I was pissed because I had done all this work at AA for him and all of this stuff. And I'm the only one who would have gone to that length. And he should be sad to not have me.
Right.
Meanwhile, I'm still homeless, you know. And
Yeah.
my kids don't talk to me, and I'm a raging alcoholic. So
Ben, yeah, and he should be lucky to have you.
He should be lucky to have me. He should be crying in his bed at night.
Right?
God, right? I probably showered once a week. Like I slept maybe that often too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Been there.
Anyway, so fast forward, I'm out at this bar and I'm dancing the band. I've been up for 72 some odd hours. I'm high on speed. I've drank probably 3 bottles of liquor, like, you know, between all the drinks that they shared. And so the band promoter looks at me and he goes, hey, what are you doing after this? It's almost 2 a.m. And I'm like, nothing. What are you guys doing? You know? And he's like, you want to come out with us? We're going to go bar hop in some other places. We're going to go out to this house. We're going to do all this stuff. And I'm like, well, yeah, you guys look like a bunch of nice guys, you know, and I don't know anything about you, and I'm completely shit-faced. I think that's the best idea ever.
Of course.
And
we're in our best
so
thinking in those moments.
Yeah. So I went out, and here I am in my 40s, right? I'm out in the entourage with this band. There's several vans loads of people. We stopped at a strip club somewhere in the middle of nowhere. I have no idea where we were. And, you know, we're walking around the strip club, and they're buying me drinks. And by this time, I don't know if it was the alcohol that I'd finally gotten to a point where my brain was like, you suck. I'm not even going to participate.
Right. Shutting down now.
Yeah, shutting down now. But I just started to be real fuzzy. And have a hard time with what I was doing. And the next thing you know, I am in an Uber. The Uber driver come gotten us. I had no shoes on. The guy I was in the car with, I was in the car with two men, and one of them was like this kid of a lawyer or whatever, thought of, bragging about it. And the other one was from out of state. And I guess I was going home with this guy from out of state. So we dropped off this other guy. The guy from out of state had my purse. He had my shoes. He had my phone. And I remember thinking, I wonder if I jumped out of this car while it was driving. I wonder if I would know where I was or be able to get up and run fast enough.
Right.
Like, I just had this overwhelming fear for my life.
Mm.
And I looked at him and I said, "What are you going to do to me?" And he started laughing. And I was like, "Oh, God."
Oh, scary.
So, and, naturally you don't tell the Uber driver you think you're in danger, because that would have been smart. So, and I'm not tearing myself apart. I'm just saying, like, what's the obvious answer here?
Right.
Why didn't you tell the Uber driver?
Right.
Well, so I got out of the Uber, and he had all my stuff, and we're in this great big mansion house. And I could not make this up if I tried. This mansion, it was a mansion, huge. I don't even know where we were. And I didn't even know where my car was, or anything, or where we were.
Right.
And so, anyway, so he brings me in through the garage. We go into this house, and it is immaculate. There's no pictures on the wall. It looks like one of those stage homes, for sale.
Yep.
And he's like, come with me upstairs. So we go upstairs, and in one of the rooms, there's a blown up air mattress. And that's where he's been sleeping. And, he's like, "Well, this is my friend's house," and I truly do think it was a stage home.
Yeah. He's parked in it.
Yeah. So he, it had water. So, because he ran me a bath. He goes, "I want you to take a bath in a minute." And I don't remember everything that happened, honestly. I remember the scalding hot water. I remember, telling him I loved him, because I thought if I told him I loved him, he'd be nicer to me.
Right.
And I remember him being really aggressive. And in the morning when I came to, he was in a panic. And he was like, "Come on, you got to go. Come on, you got to go. Come on, you got to go." I'm like laying on this air mattress in the middle of this big mansion.
Right.
And I was like, "Okay, fine. I'm getting up. Fine. I'm all hungover." And I go into the bathroom, and I'm like looking for my things, and he's like throwing stuff at me. "Here, take this. Here, take this. Here, take this." He doesn't have any shoes on, and he's trying to push me out to the car. And I looked at myself in the mirror, and I had strangulation marks and a black eye. I had big, huge bruises on my arms where he'd held me down in the shape of his hands.
Wow.
I was bruised from head to toe. I looked like hell. My hair was matted together. I puke in it, like I looked really awesome. And he's like, "Get in the car." So I'm like, "Okay." So we're driving, and he's driving me back to, and I'm just still really, like, I felt like I was in another dimension. Like, I just felt like there was something really wrong with me. There was, but I felt like I been drugged or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so he's driving me. I'm not really following along with where we are. The sun's too bright. I can barely see. And I said, "Can you get me a coffee?" So he drives me through this drive-thru, and he's like, "Give me a coffee." "Okay, fine. Here, take your coffee." And he takes me to my car. And I'm like, "Cool." I'm like, "Can we go out again tonight?" And he's like, "No." Drives off.
Oh,
I'm like,
no.
all sad, right?
No.
I'm all sad that we can't go out again.
No.
Right? And, so I go back to my friend's house, who's the nurse, who believes I'm sober. And she's like, "At work." And so, I text her, and I'm like, "Hey, everything's fine, just working, da-da-da-da-da." And I'm covered in these bruises. So I'm like, no big deal. So I go out to drink again at 10 a.m.
Wow.
Quick shower.
Yeah.
Take a quick shower. Got all cleaned up. Went out to the bar. So I'm like, I'm going to find this dude, and I'm going to marry him.
Yeah.
right? Yeah, because he's
Yeah.
top-notch, right? Like,
Yes.
he loves
Because
me.
you're in full
And
self-destruct mode now. Full blown.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, full blown, full blown. So, I start pounding drinks at this fancy sushi place, covered in bruises. I'm like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, take that,
Looking
that
pretty.
lemon. Let me get some lemon drop. Got get my cute outfit on,
Right.
and totally, totally look like I just, gone 8 rounds. And so, um, I'm like, okay, well, he's obviously not going to show up to this sushi place, so I need to go back downtown to where I found him.
Right.
So I go downtown, my bruises are all hanging out. Like, hey guys, what's up? And bar hopping, taking
Yeah.
drinks. Nobody's having anything to do with me. Everybody's like, ooh.
Right. Yeah,
There's a
they're
white.
like, yeah,
And
steer clear.
so yes, so and day turns into night and middle of the night and everything's shut down and I'm bored because nobody else is partying and it's lame. Meanwhile, I've eaten my weight in something like hot dogs or something. I mean, I was
Right.
just really confused. And I go back to the bar that I met him at where the live band was, and it's like I think it was like a Sunday night. And the bartender looked at me and she's like, "Can I help you?" Like, I'm like, "Where's the party at?"
Right.
Just
Right.
looking all sorts of special. And I'm like, "Is that same guy here that's with the band? Is he going to be here tonight? When is he going to?" And so I'm asking her, I'm like, "Can you get his number for me, or can you give him my number? Can you find out where he is? Like, I'm really looking for this dude,
Right.
And other guys who are totally smashed and totally self-destructive are starting to buy me drinks because they're starting to trickle in on a Sunday night because that's what we do.
Yep.
And I get good and liquored up, and I drink way too much, probably another 3 bottles or whatever, and I head out to the parking lot so I can smoke a cigarette and catch my breath and get my second wind. And had forgotten my speed. And sitting in the parking lot, and I stood up and totally face planted in the ground, and probably, destroyed my shoulder joints.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm like laying in my vomit. I have red rash all over my face. I have shoulder injury. I have blood in my eyes. I can't see. My hair is matted with hot dog vomit. And they call me an Uber. My bartender runs out, calls me an Uber, and shows me an Uber.
Oh, that poor Uber driver.
Yeah, she's like, "Get out of here." So then the Uber driver has to carry me in to my friend's house because he doesn't want my throwing up drunk ass in his car.
Yeah, right.
So he picks me up and carries me into my friend's house. She's on a date. She's like, like making out with some guy she met on her couch. And here, stranger runs me into the house and drops me off my room and leaves and doesn't say a word. And she's like, "What?" So she goes in there to see me, and I'm head to toe with bruises, cuts, blood, vomit, have like hot dogs in my hair.
Yeah.
And, not waking up, whatever. So she takes me to the emergency room, and a doctor that I'd worked with treated me.
Oh.
And they called the police, and of course the police have to do their job. And the officer was like, "What was this? Just rough sex? What the hell?
Yeah.
Like, you gonna go get this guy? What did you do?" Da da da. And start shaking me down. And I said, "Look, dude," I said, I'm a drunk. And it's the first time I ever.
Wow.
First time I ever said that. I'm a drunk. That's what I do. I'm not gonna go after this dude. No, you can't do.
Like you had brought it onto yourself. Yeah.
This is what happens to drunks like me.
Yeah.
And I was drunk, of course.
Yeah.
And I was like, "You don't really fucking care about me. I don't even know why you're fucking talking." Like,
right.
Fuck all you guys.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, so the doctor comes up to me and he goes, "Honey," he goes, "you're fucking too old for this shit."
Wow.
He's like, you are too old. You are an alcoholic. You're going to die. What the fuck are you doing?
Right.
He's like, "You need help." Yeah. And my friend.
So basically just telling it how it is, basically, to you.
Yeah. And my friend, who had thought I was an AA, she's like, you can't live with me anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I had to go through all this battery tests. I took pictures of all the strangulation marks, the handprints, and I couldn't distinguish between what he had done and, what I did to myself.
What the faceplant did, and
yeah. And so I was like, fuck, I have nowhere to go.
right.
And I'm not gonna be okay. Obviously I can't do it anymore.
Right.
And so I went back to the meeting that I went to drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat there and I said, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a drunk, and if I don't get help, I'm going to kill myself. Can you please help me?
Wow.
And a couple ladies stood up and said, we'll help you. And one of them said, why don't you go to the Six? Went to the bowling alley,
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go to this meeting, then you're going to go to that meeting with me, and we're just going to go to meeting after meeting after meeting together. And,
Wow.
And I was going through withdrawals, so I was a real peach.
Yeah, I bet.
I was bitchy, and I didn't like anybody, and I had all this sexual drama because I was still covered in bruises and hitting on dudes, and just crazy shit.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have any worth. I didn't think I did. I wasn't allowed to have worth.
Right.
And I had no boundaries. I don't know what boundary is.
Yep.
People like me don't get boundaries, and it wasn't even people like me. I didn't even see myself as a person. I didn't even have an identity. Because for so long I'd been trying to be everybody else.
Yep.
And but still high functioning enough to hold down a job. And
yeah.
Yeah.
That's good though. I mean,
and going to work with strangulation marks and shit after that, and having to tell my HR representative, hey, I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And I need help. And but I was not going to go to treatment because I was like, I can do it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I have nurse friends, and I'm a nurse, dang it.
Right. You're better than that.
I'm going to be Prince Charming in a meeting, and I'm going to be saved. I mean, all this crazy thing.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so I had a seizure, getting sober,
and
had to go back to the emergency room and get some help. And I was like, well, how the hell am I going to do this? And it was a mess.
Mm-hmm.
It was a mess. Like, I went through 2 sponsors almost right away because I didn't want to follow rules.
Yeah.
I knew what I was doing. I didn't need someone to tell me I need to call them every day. That's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to call. And I don't like talking on the phone, I would say. So I'm just going to text you.
Yep.
Well, you can try that, but this is what I want you to do.
Yep.
Why? That's stupid. And I was just directly oppositional to everything they were trying to do, but asking for help at the same time.
Yeah, I've been there. I get it.
Yes. Like, please help me, but don't make me do anything dumb.
Yeah. Like, who are you to tell me to call you every day?
Don't make me do anything dumb. So, and so, naturally, I got fired a couple times. I fired one, and the other one fired me.
Okay.
And, I was just like, well, fuck it, I can do it on my own. All I have to do is not drink. That's all I have to do.
Yeah.
I don't have to go to these dumb meetings. They're emotional and they make me feel.
Yeah.
I don't like the way they make me feel. Well, I didn't know what feelings were. And shoot, I considered myself highly educated.
Yeah.
I know what feelings are. I didn't know what feelings were.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't allow myself to deal with anything that happened.
Right.
And I wouldn't, allow myself to have feelings. I didn't even know how to describe what I felt. And, I got introduced to the feelings wheel, and I was like, again, dumb,
Yeah.
Feelings wheel are stupid. Actually, they're not.
No, they're really not.
Because I didn't even know what they were.
I hated them at first, too.
I was so shocked to find out that I didn't even know what my own feelings were.
Yeah.
And as I started to work through recovery, and these beautiful human beings who had to deal with my snarky little attitude, continue to want to see me succeed.
Wow.
And they continue to want to see me alive, which was mind blowing to me. I was like, why would you want me to live?
Right.
Like, why would you? Nobody wants me to live. Like, why would you want me to live? I'm the lowest human being on earth.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would you want me to live? And and they were just like, yeah, we are too. Like, welcome to AA.
Yeah.
we'll help you, and you'll love yourself, and all this will happen to you, but you have to do these steps. And I was like, that's stupid, again.
Yeah.
And so then the pandemic hit, JT. You and I had already met.
Yes.
I was working at North Point, and thank God I got that job at North Point, because hearing someone like you, any one of you beautiful human beings that came in there and had to endure being in treatment, and had to go through that, I learned so much about myself from all of you.
Oh, wow. And
I was always shocked. There was nothing that I didn't learn. That was new. That wasn't new. Every day was new. I learned something new. And I would learn it about myself and just be like, what the crap?
Yeah.
Like, wow. And it was so good.
So you were about 6 months. 6 months.
I was 6
at
months
this point.
when I started. And I got to tell you about the interview. So I don't know if you remember Z Amara.
Not sure.
Our director of nursing.
Oh, okay.
She was Hispanic and Puerto Rican. Short New York, Puerto Rican, and New York.
Yeah,
accent.
I'm not sure if I remember her or not.
Oh my gosh, tough as nails. Anyways, she's so funny. She was just level with me, and she just laughed at some of the things I said. One time I brought hemp lotion in there, and she was like, "What the freak are you doing?"
Right.
Yeah, you can't have a big pot leaf on your lotion hanging out here at the nurse's station. Just like crazy stuff.
Right.
Anyway. So anyway, I went into the interview, and it was her and another nurse. And she says, and, let me just say, as everyone knows, I'm highly sexual. So, all this sexual stuff and all this stuff, everything is sex-based. You want something, it's sexual in nature.
Yeah.
You're my friend, you must want sex. Sex, all over my brain. And so I'm sitting in there, and I'm just ditzy as all get out. I'm all dressed up. I got my extensions on. I think I'm cute. Whatever. And I'm sitting there, and she says, "This is an abstinence-based program. What do you think about that?" And I said, I think abstinence is really important. I really think that it's important not to have sex in your first year of being sober. And I went on and on for a good 5 minutes while they just stared at me about abstinence.
Oh, you poor thing. That's hilarious.
And then finally she goes, "I appreciate that. I really do. But what I meant was abstinence from medication."
Did you almost die?
Oh my God.
Wow.
And believe it or not, that interview got me hired.
Oh,
she loved that.
I bet.
She told everybody about it. And then everybody was like, "Are you the abstinence girl?"
Yep. Yep.
I'm the abstinence girl. So, but going through North Point, working with them, it's not that I learned from them. I learned from you guys.
That's pretty cool.
It was way cool. And then the pandemic hit, and everybody, got scattered to the winds. And I became my dry, drunk, awesome self, which was work.
Right.
And I worked 80 plus hours a week because I still didn't want to feel feelings.
Right.
I didn't want to.
Avoidance.
I went to an addiction specialist, and I said, "I can't do speed anymore. I can't drink anymore, but I need something. You got to help me out. I'm dying inside. You got to help me out. There's something wrong with my brain." So I went through all this testing, and they diagnosed me with a couple of things. First, major depression.
Yeah.
Then ADHD, which, from childhood.
Right.
So ADHD, and then depression. And then they also diagnosed me with a dissociative disorder, which is that part where you just kind of fragment.
Yeah.
And you just check out. And so I started psychotherapy, and I counselor shopped. It's like, if I'm gonna share all this awful shit,
Right.
you're gonna be someone I can trust.
Right.
And I highly recommend that.
Yes.
So I called around and I made them all interview with me. Tell me, like a job interview.
Yeah.
If I tell you this, what's your response? You know?
Right.
And so anyway, and I found the perfect one. And she's been perfect. I see her religiously every single week.
That's
And
great.
I got involved with the addiction specialist who helped me find my core psychiatric issues and prescribed me the right medications. And so then I had that going for me. And then all of a sudden I was sleeping, and I was like, dude, I don't sleep. And I was sleeping, and I was getting good night's sleep, but I was still working a shit ton. And then all of a sudden I had this weird freak of nature happen to me, because here I am in my 40s, and I drank most of my life from childhood, and I had internal bleeding all of a sudden. Wasn't drinking, but I had internal bleeding, and just horrible, and went to the emergency room. People from work drove me to the emergency room, and they had to book me for this procedure. I had to go in and get a colonoscopy, and they found all these, polyps, which were benign, but they removed them all, and they were bleeding, all this stuff. So during this time, I'm bleeding. I've been home 24 hours in the silence of my apartment with no children, because they didn't talk to me, and nobody here. But I had my own place finally. The silence of it was so much, and I called my boss, and I was like, please let me come to work. And she said, you're crazy.
Yeah.
She's like, you're so crazy. She's like, don't call me again. You have a job when you're well.
Right.
Don't call me sleeping, come into work. And I tried a couple other jobs, and no one would let me work. And so I went to a meeting. And during that meeting, there was this great older woman that was talking, just sassy. And she's just, amazing. Anyway, she's telling her story, and I was listening to it and everything. And then we went outside to have a cigarette afterwards. And she walks up to me and she says, I'm sorry I stood you up today. And I was like, huh? What? And she said, I'm sorry I stood you up because, we were supposed to meet, I'm your sponsor. Remember, we talked on the phone. And I said, it wasn't me, but it just so happens I'm in the market for a sponsor. And she goes, well, call me. So I did. And I've called her every single day since, without question. I've called her every single day religiously, no text.
Right.
And I show up every week to meet her in person. And sometimes I see her several times in a week because we go to the same meeting. And I do everything she tells me.
Yeah.
And because, and I had to deal with these feelings. And I had to tell her about it. And I thought it was going to murder me. I thought it was going to kill me dead.
Yep.
It was going to be the most gruesome death I was ever going to have. And it was going to, I was going to be ripped to shreds. And I not only didn't die, I wasn't even maimed, and I felt great.
Yeah, you were feeling better.
Yeah, and I started to appreciate that I had value.
Yeah.
When I connected with my higher power, the first thing I asked him is, why was I born? Why am I here? What is my worth?
Purpose.
How do I know what that looks like? How do I know what that looks like? How do I know that good things are meant for me? Because I'm a mistake.
Yep.
And I tell you, it is mind-blowing every step through those steps, how those promises come true.
Yes.
And how I get an answer almost immediately, and I don't even know it.
Yep.
I don't even know it. And then all of a sudden I'm living it. And I'm like, wait a minute. When did it happen?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
When did that happen? When did that happen?
When did I cross that? Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty neat.
It's really amazing. And, my sponsor says the last thing you do at night is wash your dishes, and the first thing you do every morning is make your bed.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's about treating yourself well and having discipline too. But, you know, you can't be well if you have rotten food in your sink. And, you know, if you're not making your bed, you're not making sure you have a good place to sleep.
Yep.
And other things, you know, call your sponsor, go to a meeting, reach out to other women. I was terrified of women. Terrified. Because not only had they been my competition my whole life, but I had gotten into fist fights with a lot of them.
Right.
You know, and having women friends or having a conversation with a woman that lasted more than 3 seconds,
right,
with eye contact was crazy. I mean, I could do it at my job, but it was it was part of the job.
Right.
But in my personal life, it was crazy. And, you know, and sober, to do it sober. So my sponsor was like, you have to call a woman every day from a list that you make of people in AA, and you have to talk to them for 5 minutes on the phone and only talk about them.
Mm.
And I was like, I'm so dysfunctional, I can't do it.
Right.
I can't do it. But once I started doing it, I was like, well, you know, what was all my fear about?
Yeah, what was that about? Yeah.
Didn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
Every time she tells me to do something, I'm like, no, I can't do it. And then I do it, and I'm like, well, what was my rationale before? I didn't get it.
Yeah.
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 So I've been doing good.
Sounds like
so
you found an awesome sponsor.
Oh my gosh. She's an old battle axe nurse.
Yeah.
And she's just like me. I can't tell her anything at shocks her.
Right.
She's like, yeah, been there, done that. Whatever.
So
thanks for telling me. I'm glad you told me. But you're all right. Yeah.
So you have how much time do you have now?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. That is
2.5 years. And
incredible.
Yeah, and I will tell you.
Incredible.
I'm shocked. I've never been sober for 2.5 years in my entire life since childhood.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that I have normal laughs, JT.
Yeah.
Just shocked. When I first got sober, I did not.
It's a miracle.
Normal laughs.
Yeah.
And it's a miracle that my body righted itself. I had to do vitamin B shots for a long time.
Yeah.
Because I was so malnourished. I was so deficient. I had absolutely, like, my vitamin D level was in the toilet because wet alcoholic goes out and it hangs out in the sun. Not unless it's an accident.
Yeah. Right.
But, I was completely deficient in almost every vitamin. My hair had all but fallen out. I had a small handful of hair on the top of my head.
Just stripped your body of nutrients and
yeah. Yeah, my skin was easily damaged. I bruised easily.
Right.
I
went through that a bit too. Yeah.
Yeah. My whole body was like, there's nothing left,
Right.
Come back later. And so I went, and I had to go tell my doctor, hey, I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I was addicted to diet pills. This is what I've done.
Yeah.
And because my doctor was different than the doctor that prescribed me diet pills.
Yes.
And because, I'm not letting my doctor know I'm addicted to diet pills.
Right.
And but anyway, she hooked me up with vitamin B shots and all this stuff. And she's like, okay, we're going to get you healthy. And I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And I tell everybody I'm an alcoholic. I'm not afraid. My boss knows. Hey, I'm an alcoholic. I'm not going to go out drinking with you guys. Sorry.
Yeah, same with me, and I'm really surprised at how well people respond. The kind of responses I've got, with people saying, "Oh, so is my uncle," or "so is my friend," and really never had a bad experience since this last time, going through treatment and doing the program and finally being actually a grateful alcoholic. I finally get why people say it now. Like, I finally get, it always used to piss me off when people would say I'm a grateful alcoholic, and I'd be like, what the fuck are you even talking about? How could you be grateful that you're an alcoholic? But I get that now.
Me too. I love that you said that. The first time I heard that, I was like, "You're a grateful recovering alcoholic, you tool." I
Right?
don't even know what you were.
Right? Yeah.
Liar.
Liar. Yeah. But I like how you
Yeah.
talked about the promises too, because that's important. That was another thing when I would hear, before I decided to finally give AA a chance, I'd hear that this stuff about the promises, and people would say how great their lives were, and I'd be like, "Fuck you, you're lying. There's no way, like,
Right.
that could be happening." And yet, within less than 9 months of me getting the program and actually doing the program and working the steps and going through them, like those promises, I would look back and go, "Oh, when did that happen? Oh my gosh, wow, my life
Yes.
is actually getting better, and it's getting better quick." So I
Yes.
love that you touched on that.
I
And
was wonderful. I
yeah,
want to tell you this too. Yeah. Where you're like, there's no way. There's no way all of this happened. Y'all are liars.
yeah,
I remember thinking, there's a secret club somewhere where they all go after the meeting to get drunk. That's why they're happy.
yeah, or
I was
the
like,
yeah,
they're all here for court.
yep,
Yeah.
and they're taking the money in the basket and they're spending it.
And they're blowing it at the bar. That's
Yeah.
yes. That's exactly. I was like, you guys are totally fucking
Yeah.
lying. I
Yeah.
know that nobody's as happy unless they're drinking. Nobody. And
Exactly.
it's a lie we tell ourselves.
Yep. It's like the lie we tell
Mhm.
ourselves. It's the only way we can socialize. It's the only way we can get through a test. It's the only way, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Or
you're
this is
a
just what people do. They drink. That's
yeah.
normal.
Yep.
No, it's not really that normal. Maybe for other people, but not
Right.
for
Not
me.
not for me either. But you're
Yeah.
a true miracle. That was an incredible story. It's tragic in a lot of ways, but I'm so grateful that you survived and
Me
that
too.
you got that program, that you finally decided to take a chance on yourself.
Yeah.
And that always just makes my heart, I don't know, it just feels so big, because knowing that people decided to take a chance on themselves and
Yeah.
to do the thing and give me an opportunity to meet people like you, and for you to have influenced me in a time when I was very down, and to be
Yeah.
there and to say to me, you know I also struggled, and just to touch my hand and tell me I'm worthy, like, thank you for, like, doing that. Thank you for Yeah, thank you for taking a chance on yourself and being the miracle you are, and sharing your story with, everybody today. And I'm sure that a lot of people out there are gonna be touched, and hopefully get them motivated to do the deal.
Yeah, I hope so. And thank you. Thank you for taking a chance on you and for walking into my life and helping me stay sober and teaching me so much and allowing me to be a part of that with you. And for coming back to the meeting and seeing me there and be like, I didn't know you.
Yeah, I'm
You
like,
too.
I'm like,
Thank you, Conan.
yeah,
I look different and I'm
yeah,
also not strung out.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes,
Well, I was recovering from being strung out. When you met me, I
yes,
put in those extensions that said
yes,
bald spots.
yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
But now
when
I have hair.
I am, and you're beautiful, absolutely
Thank you.
beautiful.
You're beautiful.
Thank you. Well, I think we've got a meeting to go to, don't we? I think soon.
We do, but it starts in 15 minutes, and I'm on the other end of Meridian, and I'm not going to make it.
I was gonna say,
But but we kind of just had our own meeting.
yes, we did, and I'm clear out in Nampa, so I definitely am not going to make it.
Yes, but I want to say also to anyone else that's listening, I want to say this because I heard this lady at a meeting, and she walked in, and she was just as bubbly as all get out, just as cool, awesome, sweet, whatever, and just innocent eyes. And she had the worst story I've ever heard. And, and she sat there and she talked about her experience, strength, and hope, and just loving. And she looked at all of us right in the eyes and she said, if I can do it, you can do it. And, I just want to say to anybody who's listening, you have worth. You were born for a reason. It's up to you to find out what that is with your higher power, but there's a reason you're here.
Yeah.
You have worth. And if I can do it, you can do it.
I love that. That's a great note to end on.